Well, you need an agenda. So,
She didn't give us one. She leave? I have no idea.
Gloria, she's
Want to grab one up there?
she's
Good evening. We're about to start the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for August 31st,
September.
September 1st, right?
Right.
September 1st. 2016, and 7:03. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gotta wait for a member to come back so we have a quorum. Okay, first up is a public hearing for James Thompson, reconvened from August 4th, 2016. Joe Thompson?
Hi.
Hello?
How are you?
Good.
So do we talk?
Yes.
Okay. So, we own 16 Catherine Street here in Dudley, and,
Excuse me, can you state your name for the record?
oh, I'm sorry, Michelle Thompson.
James Thompson.
So we're here seeking a special permit and variance to, a permit to vary the minimum lot area from 15,000 square feet to 7,200 square feet, and a variance to reduce the minimum lot frontage from 100 feet to 60 feet to build a single-family home. And we are under the impression that because the lot was formed prior to the Dudley zoning laws coming into effect in 1969, that the lot is grandfathered in because at the time it did meet current zoning sizes, setbacks, and everything at that time. And since zoning has changed, we have to come here to apply for a special variance and permit to build now.
Is there any neighbors? I guess there's neighbors. Would you like to come down? No, you gotta come down, state your name and,
Robert Gribb, I'm on the Butters, 18 Catherine Street. It seems to me we're not talking about a couple thousand feet here. It's, you know, it's quite a bit of property, and it's well short. It's not even half of what it's supposed to be in square footage.
Brother, we can't hear you back here.
can you speak to the mic?
I was just saying that I don't think, you know, I don't think the lot's big enough. That's my concern, being a butter of it. It's not even half of what the square footage is required. You know,
Can I respond to that, or no?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so, within the block of Catherine Street and Oakwood Avenue, that loop, of the 20 lots that are within addresses that are Catherine Street or Oakwood Avenue, there are actually 7 lots that are exactly that same size at 7,200 square feet, which represents actually, of the 20 lots, 35% of them are exactly the same size as the lot that we own and want to build on. It's actually, most of the lots are that size. There are certainly other lots that are bigger, but 7 out of 20 are 7,200 square feet. which, and this is a picture of all the lots within that block that are the same size as ours that currently have houses on them, and that's the size the lots were back when that subdivision was formed.
Is that a copy for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So our lot is highlighted in green, and the other lots that are the same size are outlined in green.
I have the same copy, I see one maybe, but, other than that, I have my own copy.
Well, let's see your copy.
I got my own sketches on it, but anyway,
Okay.
I don't need to see it, but anyway, zoning laws have changed also, you know? That's why we have zoning laws, you know? Isn't it?
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't know, and, why would this time be any different from the last two times it's been denied? I don't know. Is there something else legally, or, I'm not sure, but.
Okay. I'm still looking through the whole stuff.
Yeah, I know,
I
it's,
just got the
I
paperwork
see
tonight.
one on there that presently has a house now, but she says 7, whatever. But laws have changed since then, so maybe she's drawing out other one, I'm not sure how it works totally, but I see only one, maybe.
This is the actual plot plan of the lot now, like I got this from the Town of Dudley website.
Yeah, I have it right here, also.
Right, so if you went through and I can tell you the lot numbers that are exactly the same size if you'd like.
We don't have to, I mean, it's
No,
right
I'm
there
not
in black,
arguing.
no,
I'm
it's
just
right
saying
there in
I'd be
black and
happy
white.
to share with you.
No, it's right there in black and white, you know, but that, they know what years, things got changed around also, so. We'll see what
Right, so
they have.
this subdivision was formed in 1941 by property owned by Mr. Joseph O'Kane. Zoning laws didn't come into effect in the town of Dudley until 1969. So it was a valid lot in 1941 when this was originally filed in the town of Dudley. And when zoning changed and upped those numbers in 1969, that's when that change came into effect. But anyone that had an effective lot at the time that that lot was formed has an effective lot that's in essence grandfathered in because it was in compliance prior to 1969.
So, I mean, it's a single-family house you're gonna build, and you're gonna live in it?
It is a single-family home, and
It's
it,
gonna be your home?
I'm sorry?
It's gonna be your home?
It may not necessarily be our home. I'm not sure how that's relevant, though.
All right.
We live in Dudley and we
I don't
raise
know,
our
that's
kids
why we're
in
here. They
Dudley.
know the law better than I do, so we'll
Okay.
let them decide. Maybe this is more neighbors.
We want to be good neighbors and, you know.
Thank you.
Are there any other neighbors?
My name is Adam Strupsack.
Please, right into the mic, please.
My name is Adam Strupsack, and at the time, I bought my land in 1992. There was 3 house lots, 2 on Lakeview and 1 on Catherine. In 1995, I came before this board, and I wanted to
I wasn't here.
I know, this is a whole new board. I'm just giving you a little bit of history.
Okay.
Okay? I came before this board. I wanted to build a new house, and I had a house already on the 2 lots that were on Lakeview Ave. I was gonna rip my house down. The address was 19 Lakeview Avenue at the time. I wanted to rip my house down, turn it to, that's how my house now became 17 Lakeview, and I wanted to keep my existing lot on Catherine Street. Now, I said, this lot can be grandfathered in. Well, the lot could not be grandfathered in because all the property was under one name. Just like all these people's property, it was under one name. It was under the Duchamp name since the early 50s. And the land was all transferred over to Annie Duchamp in 1999. Both properties, the one on Oakwood Ave and the property on 16 Catherine Street. Now in 2003, Annie transferred the land over to Mr. and Mrs. Al Reich, and it was transferred over to Annie Reich with co-owner Al Reich. I assume that was because they were married. And the lot was transferred over that he wants to build on the same year, 2003, to Mr. and Mrs. Reich. Now, in 2004, the house on Oakwood Avenue was transferred over to Jonathan Reich. And the lot on 16 Catherine Street remained under the same name.
Jonathan Reich?
And to this day, right now, so before I go any further, I want to ask this gentleman right now, the day that he purchased this land, the date, who your attorney was, and I want to know the book number in a Worcester County Courthouse where this is documented that you are now the sole owner of this property.
It was posted in the paper that I purchased it.
Well, it's not documented anywhere in a Worcester County court. As of today, this land is still owned by Mr. and Mrs. Al Reich, and the house on Oakwood Ave is still owned by Jonathan Reich.
That house has been sold.
Well, I'm just saying, as today.
I don't know, I
Okay.
don't record deeds.
Okay,
I have a lawyer that did that.
okay.
So,
Mr. Ehrlich and Webster, if you want to go speak to him, you're welcome.
I can give you some of that information. So, 19 Oakwood Avenue, I actually got this from the Mass Land Records
Right.
website for Worcester County.
Right, that's where I get all my information.
Okay, so 19 Oakwood Avenue is actually currently owned by a man named Daniel Griffiths, and that's recorded on book and page, book 55165, page 360. He purchased 19 Oakwood Avenue on, this is the exact date here, April 8th of 2016, he purchased that from Jonathan Reich, or Reich.
Okay. But all this survey lots that you're showing us right here today, those are all printed from the early 1950s. All of these lots. That's where all them sizes came from the 1950s.
Uh-huh.
And almost every house from Mason Road down to Lakeview Ave is almost the same lot. So now I want to get back to where I interrupted. So I had a lot directly across the street from these people. And I couldn't get the lot grandfathered in because all the three house lots were under one name. The person I bought it from, and all under my name when I bought it. So the lot was dead. I couldn't build on a lot. I wanted to build a separate small house on this lot that I would have been living in right now. But I was rejected. So that's why I'm against these people. Because the lot's too small, their lot cannot be grandfathered in, because this lot is under the same name since 1999 until it transferred in 2003 under Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Reich.
In other words, this lot's dead, is what you're saying. You're saying this lot's dead, just like yours was.
Yes, in 1999,
Common ownership.
Annie Duchamp owned both lots, 1999. And Annie Duchamp transferred this land, both lots, the one on Oakland, or Oakwood, and the one on 16 Catherine. She transferred these lots in 2003. And this is printed right out of the, right off of the website. If you care to look at it, there's all the names, the transfers, and we're concerned here with,
I know what the property record card
okay,
is.
we are concerned here with, we're only concerned with 16 Catherine Street.
This is what he's saying.
So because,
Yeah, it was done.
so when I came before this board, I came before the planning board, I came before the building committee, I came before this board right here, which was naturally all new members. This was 20-some odd years ago. The only way that I could build a house, my lot was out, it was dead. The only way I could build a new home was to hire a engineer and resurvey all of the land. And now the three lots became one.
Right.
Until I did that, I could not obtain a building permit. So as far as I'm concerned, this lot on 16 Catherine Street is dead. It's wasted land, and that's just the way it is. So I am 100% against this. So that's why my house turned now, it went from 19 Lakeview, Catherine Street to 17 Lakeview Avenue. And now, if you look,
Can you tell me which lots are your lots on this drawing? Our lot is highlighted in green. So what were your lots?
along Catherine Street, I'm on.
And that's Lakeview Ave at the bottom there. There's the lake where your left thumb is,
Okay.
right thumb is. So what were your lots?
I'm on this corner.
No, I think you're on the other.
It was always, it's all, as far as zone's concerned.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
These
what were your lots?
these two right here. That one, and that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that lot that you got numbered there is number 70.
Yes?
That, I lost that lot. And the only, like I said, the only way I could get a building permit, and I couldn't get a building permit, period, until I hired an engineer, which cost me an extra $2,000. And now they resurveyed the whole thing all over again, and them 3 lots are now 1. So I lost that lot.
The back
I
lot,
couldn't,
you're
I couldn't
saying?
grandfather it in. And you can't grandfather it in either. Because them lots are under, since 1999, they're under Annie Duchamp, and in 2003, they're under Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Reich.
So,
And that lot on 16, Catherine, is still, by looking at this here, as of this morning, it's still owned by Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Reich,
right,
that
so
lot.
To answer that, I just think that the record cards aren't fully updated to record all the deeds that have been recorded, because we closed on this lot back in February
I
of this year,
understand
so
that,
it may not
but
be
you
updated yet.
closed on a lot knowing that it was unbuildable.
We
You're taking a
certainly did not
chance.
buy a lot that
Well,
we knew was unbuildable,
well-
sir. I would never
Well,
buy a
that's
lot that
my
we thought was
opinion.
unbuildable.
That's my opinion.
Okay, but we
Because-
would never have bought a lot if we
because
thought it was
in-
unbuildable.
In 2000, Joyce, what year did, Mr.
2009.
I'm gonna say 2009, 2008, 2007. None of you people were here.
So I have just a quick question for you, because I would question, you're saying that these lots were merged. I have heard of this merger theory. I didn't hear about it until after we had already bought our lot. But my understanding of the merger theory is that it was put in place to encourage owners that have multiple abutting non-conforming lots to be forced to merge those non-conforming lots to create lots that are more conforming to current building and zoning.
That might be so,
zoning.
young lady.
That is absolutely true. That's great.
So,
That might
sir,
be
though,
so.
you
But
meet
all-
current building and zonings on both of your lots, where you might have had 3 lots, they are still actually 2 conforming building lots under current building and zoning laws. I'm not sure about the frontage, but you've got 16,000 square foot on one lot, and you've got 21,000
It's
square
too,
foot on the
it's
other
too
lot.
late. I mean, I couldn't take out a building permit.
I'm saying
get
you
a-
meet current zoning, so why wouldn't you be able to take out a
Well,
building
the
permit?
board said I couldn't. I couldn't get a building permit
Over
until the
there,
land was
it's
all engineered.
15,000 square feet.
Right, your 2 lots right now are 21,000 and
They're not two.
16,000.
It's all one lot now. If you look that up on, right here on this site, you're gonna see that them 3 lots, it's
don't
all.
have 2 different addresses?
It's all one lot.
Oh, okay.
17 Lakeview Avenue.
Okay, I'm sorry, I
So, no,
misunderstood. They
so
look like 2
17
separate lots on here.
17 Lakeview Avenue used to be 19 Catherine Street, which was the 19 Lakeview Avenue, which were the 2 lots on
This is the 19?
on Lakeview Ave. And that's where I live, and that was 19 Catherine. Now, when I ripped the house down,
5 more feet and give that guy frontage.
the lot on Catherine Street became
All I know is
the
that
2 lots,
Yeah.
this is what's.
and I couldn't get a building permit, period. unless that lot, that was engineered. So I lost 3 lots technically. That's why I'm against it. So anyway, Mrs. Reich came here in 2009.
No, 2007.
Okay, 2007.
Gonna speak, please come up.
She came here in 2007. I had the same, and she wanted to build a house on this property. And she wanted to build a house to sell. And I'm here with the same argument today, X amount of years later. And she lost. They could not give her a variance because all it takes is one people to say no, one person. I don't know these people. I don't have no axe to grind with anybody. But because I was forced to have my lot surveyed into one to get a building permit and build a new home, then that is why I am against this, and I will always be against it. And to my knowledge, all it takes is one person to say no, because we were all summoned here. The people that got a letter from this board, now we were summoned here for a reason. If nobody came here and nobody said no, then this gentleman and his wife would get the variance and they could build a house. But I'm saying no. And I'm not the only person that's gonna say no here.
All right.
So-
Are there any other?
So this is where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maggie Lavasser. I'm at 14 Catherine, which obviously abuts the property at 16. The laws are put in place for a reason. I guess if the lot was of legal buildable size back in 1951, you should have built a house then. It's my opinion that there should not be a home on that lot that would be literally sitting right on my property line, as well as the property line of the gentleman next door to me. So we are against it as well.
Okay.
So I can assure you that, other than the frontage and the area, we are able to meet all of the current setbacks on the front, rear, and side lines of the property, that there would be 15 feet between our property line and the edge of the house on both sides of the house, which is the current setbacks. Your house may sit 15 feet from your property line. Our house would hold to that same setback as well. And so we are able to meet all of the current zoning setbacks for the lot with 15 feet from the property lines on each side of the house, 30 in the front and 20 in the rear. But your lot is less than half of what is required to build on a home here in Dudley under the current zoning laws. It is actually the same size as many other lots in your neighborhood right now that all have houses on them.
I understand though, those homes were built back when when you didn't need a variance to build on that size lot. And for a reason, a law was put in place that you had to have a minimum 15,000 square foot lot to build a home on. There was a reason that law was set into place back in 1950 or whenever it was done.
It's the one that.
So, I mean, if that lot, as Adam put
So they
so
understand.
poignantly, is dead.
Oh, I did.
It's full of poison ivy. It's a nuisance at this point to the neighborhood.
Talk about merger, they should get to.
And we'd
If
rather
it's a
have the
nuisance
poison
to the
ivy than,
neighborhood, why wouldn't you want a single-family home there to increase, you won't have kids hanging out on it, it'll be bringing assets.
nobody hangs out on it. It's covered in poison ivy.
Okay.
Nobody can hang out on that
Okay.
lot.
Is there any more neighbors,
I'd
abutters?
like to make one more point. I hope I'm not out of line when I say it. When I make
Will you please come up?
Now, you say you don't know nothing about this. Mrs. Reich applying to build a house, and well then, those people lied to you when you bought this property.
They may very well
Yeah,
have.
well, they did lie.
Okay, I'm
Okay?
not surprised,
Yes, they
honestly.
did. Because she was refused by the board that was up here at the time in 2000, whatever year it was. And she was here with an engineer.
The only thing that the Riches disclosed to us when we were purchasing the house was that they had in fact applied, when we were buying the land, was that they had in fact applied for a building permit and it was denied for the same reason that ours is denied, that it doesn't meet the current frontage and area for current zoning, and they were directed to also come in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals to apply for a special permit and a variance as we're doing.
Well, that's what they
I
did.
was told that they did not take that next
Well, they
step,
did
that they
take
were
it,
denied
because
their
I was the
building
number
permit.
one person that stopped it. And I stopped it like
That
I
was not
said.
disclosed to us
I
at all.
stopped it because I was denied. I'm not against anybody trying to better their life and build property and sell property. But where I was denied and forced to have this land surveyed to get a building permit so I could build a house for myself.
Well, yeah, they took it away. Yeah.
And that's where it is. So I'm 100% against it.
So we never met.
And I don't see how this board can grant you people a variance. They can.
Thank you.
To the best of my recollection, I can't remember. But at any rate, it doesn't matter. Well, you indicated that you're aware of this whole idea, this doctrine of merger.
I was made aware of that when our building permit was denied. We had already bought the land. We went down to talk about what do we need to do to submit a building permit, and that's when Mr. Burlingame told us that we have to apply to the ZBA. He told us that we have to actually apply for a building permit so it can be officially approved or denied, and if it's approved or denied based on that action, we could then come before the Zoning Board of Appeals. So in conversations with us, he did tell us something about a merger law, merger theory, that we couldn't find anything on initially. We contacted an attorney who explained it to us, and I was able to find it in the Massachusetts general law. However, what I am seeing and found on it, because I don't have an exact document, it talks about merger theory, and the very first sentence is that substandard building lots must be combined to form one lot that will meet or more closely approximate the minimum lot area and frontage required of local zoning bylaws. However, that all of the case law that's quoted as part of the merger theory speaks of lots that abut side by side, where combining them would allow the lot to be less non-conforming because it would have more frontage and more area. There's not case law that talks about when lots butt up on the rear property line, because merging them and adjoining them does not make either lot less conforming other than for their area. And whereas these two lots are on two separate streets with two separate addresses with two separate frontages, there's not case law that I could find that showed that merging these lots would make them any less conforming, other than by the area itself. And secondly, the lots have been taxed and listed as two separate properties for all the records that I can find, and the other lot is actually owned by someone else now, and I don't understand how we got a clean title to this lot at any point in time if it was merged with another lot. So does the person that bought 19 Oakwood Avenue, does he own, like if this merger theory were to hold true, does he own our lot or do we own his house?
Well,
And
no,
how did we get a clean title on it? if-
Merger theory is relative to the zoning laws as opposed to title to a parcel of property.
But if they were merged, how are there two separate titles?
Again, that's title versus zoning,
Okay,
okay? So from a title standpoint, you have two deeds. But
I
from a
don't.
no, you have
Oh,
two
okay.
deeds from
Oh,
these
I see,
two
for the
butt
two
end
properties,
properties.
okay.
But from a zoning standpoint, once they were owned by one person, from a zoning standpoint, they merged. And they
Okay.
became one lot, which in this case would have been 14,000 plus square feet, I guess. How many square
yes,
feet in both?
14.4, a long skinny lot that has frontage on Oakwood
But
Avenue
it
and
has
Catherine
area,
Street.
but it has area that's
Correct.
more.
Yes, more non-conforming, or
well,
less,
Less non-conforming.
Correct.
More closer to 15,200.
I understand.
So on that basis, so you're aware of merger?
Now,
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I wish I'd have
And
been
you can
known
understand,
last
well,
year.
and it was for that reason it was denied back in 2003.
I did not know that.
because apparently in 2007 as well, there was an attempt to do this, and it was denied.
We were
on
unaware
this-
of that. And since we didn't own any other lot, we didn't,
That was the meeting I was at. That's why it was denied, because of me.
Okay. Okay.
so I would still say that, I understand what you're saying, but I
And when
feel
you
that
signed a standard purchase and sale agreement with this, to buy this property?
it's a very minimal purchase and sales
Was it the
agreement.
standard purchase and sale agreement, Greater Boston version, 4 pages?
No,
Nothing like that?
no,
Okay.
no. I think I have that here if you'd like to see it.
No,
but it
no,
was-
no, I'm just saying, because, again, it's, in those standard purchase and sale agreements, they allude to the fact that you take the property subject to the zoning laws in effect that affect that parcel.
Right, and we did understand that, but when I looked at the zoning bylaws, I saw that any single vacant lot lawfully of record prior to these bylaws, which were in 1969, and conforming to the then existing zoning bylaws, which now has less area or width than is required by this bylaw, is hereby exempted from conforming to such requirements. So that's the research that I did at the time. I said, okay, it was a lot prior to 1969, like everybody else's lots that are 7,200 square feet.
Right, yeah, I understand
So
that, but I mean,
it's exempted, was the research that I did.
then at one point, at some point, they were both purchased and owned by one person.
So I couldn't find that anywhere in the Dudley bylaws that would have pointed me to know and
That's a state
understand
statute, that's the
that.
state statute, though.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Public records, what did you guys pay for that property?
$3,500.
Who pays $3,500 for a property they believe they're
Buildable
going
lot.
to be able to build on? That's my only point.
We
You
were
guys do
told
this for
by-
a living, you know.
I don't know.
There's no
Mr.
Excuse me.
Reish told
Could
us
you
that it was,
State your
Michelle
name.
LeBlanc, 12 Catherine Street. There's no way. You
so
guys do this
Mr.
for a
Reish
living.
sold it to us
Blank,
because
blank.
he said that he was not able to build on this lot because it was unbuildable because the zoning committee hated him down here. He used to be a selectman and everybody was out to get
He
him.
sold it for $3,500. He could
Because
have come
he
to
couldn't
any
do
one of
anything
these-
with it.
He could have come to any one of these neighbors and asked $3,500 and we would have handed it to him that day. You do this for a living. You knew $3,500 was not buying you a buildable lot. $3,500 was bringing you right here in front of everybody.
I disagree,
something
because
that you shouldn't be
even
allowed
though
to
that's
do.
not a lot of money, he felt it was of no value to him. For him to get $3,500 was better than
You
nothing.
want $3,500, we'll write you a check.
I'd rather be able to, I would rather be able to allow another family that wants to be in the Dudley school system, move into this neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood with a great school system, and I think we live here, we're bringing our kids up here, and we would like to be able to build a lot so someone else can take advantage of this neighborhood and community that we're in.
How will that affect the property values of everybody around there?
A brand-new house is gonna bring your property values up. Well, I'm
It
just,
shouldn't be allowed. It was, every house that she's pointing to on those lots was built in the 50s, maybe the early 60s, on those smaller lots. We are not then. The laws have changed. It's very simple. It shouldn't be allowed. And everybody here from the neighborhood would say the exact same thing if they were sitting up here. Again, nothing personal against either of you. We don't know you.
Sure, right.
It's that lot.
so I have to say, we sent out 38 letters to abutters,
Yeah.
and we've had 3 people speak.
Would you like, can you guys all get up here in a line and just
Now,
put your
listen,
hand up, please?
38 properties, 38 letters, so if you and someone else, you and your husband live in a house, that's one property, not
Yes, I
not 2
understand that.
people.
Thank
So
you.
38, no, I'm just saying, so you can't bring 75 people and say that it's 75 people against you.
Yes, but this is also the 3rd time we have been here. There have been different people and the same people every single time we have showed up. No, you do not have every single person from the neighborhood here. You do not.
Right.
But you have plenty, and the rest of them have stuff to do. They are busy, or they would be here and tell you the same thing. If I didn't have to have every single neighbor notarize something, you'd all have letters from every one of them.
I disagree.
Well,
All right, thank
that's
you.
great.
Mr. Chairman, Nelson Burlingham, I'm the building official, zoning enforcing officer for the town of Dudley. And excuse me, I forget your name, but she came to the office. I guess my question to you, was it before or after you bought the lot?
We had already bought the lot when we came in.
All right, because she asked a question, I said it was non-building, I explained to her about the merger law, and I said,
And we had never heard of it, correct? I mean, I don't know how many times I
I don't know
said
when you
we
bought
had-
the lot, but.
We already had bought the lot.
Yeah.
I can assure you,
So,
it was already a
my
done
advice
deal.
to you or anybody, you know, out here and anybody watching TV and is coming to the office, to the building inspector, zoning officer, and ask the question before you buy. Nothing personal, but everybody should do their due diligence,
Right.
and ignorance really is not an excuse, and to me, it's a non-buildable law, and it's plain and
So
simple.
we're
you know?
told that it's non-buildable without a special permit or a variance.
You can't get a special permit or variance that's legal, let's put it that way, my opinion.
So this exemption that's on the second or third page of the
You're-
zoning.
I heard bits of it as I walked in here. You're confused. You're mixing two different issues up completely. Non-conforming pre-existing lot is not what you have. It's totally different. That lot was merged with the other lot. It should never have been divided to begin with. But like
So how did that
Mr.
happen?
Glenn tried to explain, what happens is one is the title and one is the lot. In the registry of deeds, they don't follow through on everything, and it's a big place, and they should, but it never should have been sold to you from the beginning. And the owner should have known it too, the former selectman, truthfully, but.
Looks like you've got a good lawsuit against Mr. and Mrs. Reich.
Not worth a lawsuit.
And I have to say this, again, don't take it personal, like this lady said, if you bought something for $3,500, you must have had an idea that there was a problem. I mean, I would, I think any of these gentlemen up here would. I
Again, we
mean,
thought the problem was that he couldn't build on it because it was him, is what he was telling us.
And at that point, you really should have came to me and asked me before you bought it.
Well, hindsight.
Okay, are there any more butters?
What do you consider an abutter?
Or any more people that were on the list? You got a letter?
Well, I mean, you have both people that are on both sides of that.
Joyce Narodzinski, 16 Lakeview Ave. I live right at the bottom of the hill where they want to build. And I was here for 2007 when we came, and it was an unbuildable lot. And I feel bad that they bought it, and I really think that he's a shyster, basically, to do that to you. And I'd go after him. But it's an unbuildable lot, and the standards that are set forth by the town of Dudley, the lot is too small to build on. I don't want a house on that lot. They're not going to move into a house on that lot. They're not.
I don't think
They
it
live in
matters
a-
who's going to live in the house.
Well,
I mean, you can't pick your neighbors.
they're going to build and sell.
I think my
That's what
husband
they
is a
do for a
reputable
living.
builder. He's done nice things in the neighborhood
he has.
already.
I agree.
And I
He
don't
has.
think whether we're going to live there or not is relevant at all to this argument.
Well, it's relevant that you're not going to live there and have to deal with another house in the neighborhood.
I live in a subdivision where I can see into my neighbor's bathroom, so I understand about having neighbors. But we can't live in a small ranch home with 2 children and a dog and a special needs child, and our family situation doesn't allow for us to live in a
So they're
in a
just going to
ranch.
build and sell. So it's, you know, I just look, it's too
So
small of a
if we were
lot.
going to live there, then it would be
small of a lot.
okay?
No, I'm just saying that
Oh.
we know that that's not the case, and I just feel the standards set by the town of Dudley, it does not meet the requirements for a buildable lot. End of story. We don't want it. And I have nothing against them. They build beautiful houses, he's done great work, but just, you know, I think that they were shysted into buying that for a real cheap price. That unfortunately
Right.
it's not.
Is there anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the public hearing relative to 16 Catherine Ave.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So the public hearing's closed.
Public hearing is closed.
Do you want to deliberate, or?
So do we just go sit down?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's get the other ones.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, I get you.
Second on the public hearing is Linda Selig Slap. Hopefully I said that right. Slap. It's reconvened from August 4th, 2016. The applicant is seeking a special permit to have a horse under 15 hands and a companion goat for pleasure. Stable and barn for animals is greater than 50 feet from side or rear lots and 50 feet from the front lawn.
So I'll state my name. My name is Linda Selig-Slap. Do I have to repeat what you just articulated?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm here seeking a special permit to have a horse under 15 hands and a companion goat for the horse. And the reason is because the bylaws have changed since the days when I grew up with horses there. I have 3.9 acres, and the new zoning says you have to have 5. So that's why I'm here for a special permit.
Okay. Are there any abutters? Like to speak?
My name is John Gosselin. I live at 73 Mason Road. You're not going to have trouble hearing me. First of all, I've lived here for 12 years, and I don't want a horse barn. I don't want to smell manure. I don't want to smell goat manure. When her father lived there, he was like a retired Webster police officer, I guess. He kind of like minded his own business, and since she moved in, she's cut down all the trees. So I was concerned about my property value then. Now I'm really concerned about it. I don't want to smell horse manure. You know what I mean? And it's like liability too. If that horse gets loose, I know one horse turns into 2, 2 horses turns into 3. Next thing you know, we got a Charlton-sized horse farm. I don't want it. So that's my case.
And, excuse me, where do you live in conjunction?
I live right next to her.
Right next to it?
Like right next to her.
What's
Okay.
your last name? What's his last name?
Gosselin.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm just going to translate for my app.
Okay.
I'm Sophia Nagel. I am her neighbor across the street. She clean. She keep the lot beautiful, open. I know I need to see the horse. I know I need to see animals because it's not farm. It's a residence property. Może oni nie rozumieją.
That once she cleaned all the trees out, it opened it up, and it's a residence. She doesn't want to see or smell the farm animals.
I am allergic to animals, maybe sometimes smell. I cannot open the window. I know I need to see the horse close to my house.
She lives directly across.
Okay.
Everything is open,
Okay.
That's what I say. I know on it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Make a comment? I think you should table this issue tonight, and the reason being, and I don't have it right in front of me, and I apologize, and I maybe should have, you only need 2.5 acres to keep a horse, not 5, and she just said she has what, 4?
3.9.
3.9? Because it was changed recently, I'm 90% sure, so.
It's 2 acres.
2 maybe even.
2
It's either
acres.
2 or 2.5, but she
0.5.
has it, so I don't, honest to truthfully, I don't know why she's here. Table it, and then we can look into it and find out, right?
Okay.
Can you repeat that? I was reading, sorry.
40A, I don't know exact section, but it says you only need 2 acres of land to have farm animals. So it supersedes our bylaw that she read. So it should be changed, our bylaw. Right now, we're in the process of changing a lot of the bylaws, and that, because a lot of them aren't quite right. And I think that's one of them. I'm pretty sure. Leslie's agreeing with me, too. 2 acres.
Would you be agreeable to continue this to next month?
Sure.
And then we can find that chapter, the section on the zoning bylaw.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we,
You want me to read this?
oh, sure, good.
I'm going to read a letter from one of the abutters at 70 Mason Road.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. Okay. Addressed to Mr. Slingo. Dear sir, we agree on the issue for a special permit for 71 Mason Road. If it is specifically for shelter of a horse and a goat, we want the permit to specify it is not for any kind of noise-generating activity or noise. Misha, Maurice, thank you.
Anyway, she can have 20 horse or 20 goat, I don't care. Animals are part of the nature. We are more concerned about noises because Mason Road has become a little 95. And we don't like that. We are old, we like peace, we are in the country. The people who like noises go in the city. So that's all. But animals are a part of the nature. And people who care about animals are clean, and the animals are also clean. Then we don't mind about animals at all. And we agree that she can have whatever. And by the way, goats are wonderful because they can mow the grass. Very, and it's a lot more economic.
I have another written letter from support too from a neighbor. Would you want to accept that or take it?
Yep, we'll take it.
We are on the 70, then we are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And by the way, excuse me, but animal doesn't stink when they are taken care of. I know a lot of people stink, and if you go in the metro, you know.
Thank you.
I'm going to read this at the next meeting.
Okay, shall I retain it with the whole package, or?
It's in the record.
Okay.
So we're going to continue it till, when's our next meeting?
First Thursday in October.
First Thursday in October.
Which is,
I'm going to tell you now. October 6th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we continue this until October 6th at our next meeting.
Second.
okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sorry, the date is October?
October 6th.
October 6th,
Okay.
7 PM. Okay, next is a public hearing for Ryan Simpson. Applicant is appealing the decision of the building official, which stated that there's a racetrack on the property.
Ryan Simpson. First, I have a couple questions. How did I get here? There was a complaint against me?
Yes?
And who is complaining about me?
Mr. Chairman, you do not have to say who gave the complaints, and I don't like to give them, and I usually don't give them, but that's up to you, on your end of it.
Well,
You don't have to give them, state law says you.
I understand your regulations. I will subpoena the town because the complaint against me is a lie. Now, you folks received the complaint. During your investigation of the complaint, what did you find? What proof do you have that this exists? What evidence can you tell me that would support this complaint? This complaint's cost me $1,000 to attend this meeting for what I've had to pay for. It's almost some 40 hours of my time preparing for this. I plan to get restitution for it because this is a lie. And there's no supporting information that anybody has given me. No one called me. No one visited the property. There's been no inquiry. There was a complaint, and the selectmen or the zoning board fired out this violation that I have a racetrack on my property. Where's the proof?
Didn't Tom Purcell come out on your property and talk to you?
Pardon?
Tom Purcell come on your property and
That's a
talk?
noise complaint. This is a complaint about a racetrack. Tom Purcell from the Board of Health came to my property. I talked to him on the phone several times. We had several meetings. We were in the field where my boys ride their motorcycles. Somebody should have talked to him and inquired whether there was a operating racetrack business there. Is that the zoning law I'm violating? I'm
Mr.
running a
Chairman, let me
racetrack
answer that.
business?
Here's the deal. I got the complaint, Tom Purcell's got the complaint, he went out there. I'm hoping that who made the complaints here tonight, and they're gonna speak up. But to make a long story short, they documented all that stuff, and I can run in the office, I've gotta get it, Jen can help me. They had dates, riders, when they rode, the number of bikes, different stuff like that. It's an opinion question. Our zoning doesn't, it just says you can't have racetracks. They don't define racetracks. They don't say, is it commercial, is it private? It was very hard for me to decide, and I really went back into, and I felt by making my decision, it gave a chance to have an open meeting, people could discuss it, the people that were complaining that you made the noise near the house could express their complaints and their concerns to this board. I figured you have 5 members on this board that can make a logical decision. Because I'm almost neutral on it, almost other than to the point that I had to decide something, and I decided it was a racetrack. But they can always override me, so I think we should let this fall through, see what the complaint was, let the people speak, and let this board make the decision. They may decide it's not a racetrack. Because
That's not my point. We haven't even got to the racetrack issue. My concern is that someone can make an accusation and then the building inspector gets instructed by the selectmen or the zoning board to inform me of a violation with, there may have been some investigation, but very, very limited. And then I'm stuck with paying money to come here to defend an accusation with no backing investigation or proof or evidence of any kind? Can you do that to any citizen? Can I just complain that somebody's running a...
You're saying that the noise complaint of having a racetrack and making a noise complaint is not a valid...
The noise complaint was conducted by the Board of Health, Mr. Purcell.
Yep.
And he wrote his finding, and it's my clear understanding that I was found to not be violating any town ordinances, any town regulations, and as a matter of fact, I cooperated even more with the Board of Health at Mr. Purcell's recommendation to not ride in one corner of my property that was close to an abutter to greater reduce the sound. He measured with a decibel reading, and I agreed further to apply to his recommendation. We don't start at the crack of dawn when the noise regulation starts, and we don't run to the end of it. My boys are very respectful. We usually ride around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and they're always done by 8. So the noise thing is off the table as far as I'm concerned. We're here today because I'm accused of operating a racetrack. How did we get here? I have a field. It's got cows in it. My boys ride around the field. I got some pictures here I can show you of the field and the cows and whatnot. And I also got a picture of our property. Have you folks ever heard of Google's Maps? This picture is of our property, and here's a picture of what a racetrack looks like in Southwick, Massachusetts. This whole racetrack thing is just ridiculous. And here's a mess of pictures. I walked around the field and took pictures of the loop around the pasture that my boys ride. And I would have welcomed anybody's visit that had a question about a racetrack on my property. And furthermore, I can build a racetrack on my property any way I want for my own personal use. There's no regulation in the town that I'm aware of that says I can't make a road around my own property and ride my own ATVs and bicycles on it to my heart's content. I'm not running a business. There's zero evidence that I'm running a business, but I'm up here spending my money and my time and my family's time for this ridiculous claim. So help me understand what the hell is going on. Because I'm pretty pissed, in case you guys haven't figured it out. And I will subpoena the town for who has filed this complaint against me, and I'm gonna sue them because they've lied. I've had to post this ridiculous ad in the paper saying that I was a zoning violator for 2 weeks. I had to notify all my neighbors that I'm a zoning violator, and I'm not. I got nothing to do with it. It's a lie. It's a trumped-up lie for reasons that I'm hoping to hear tonight, because it's just ridiculous. And if this is what can happen in the zoning board?
Hopefully, the people who made the complaint will.
Are there any abutters?
That was the whole purpose of the meeting.
If I was to file a complaint to the zoning board about my neighbors, say I have a neighbor that's running a brothel down the street because I see men coming and going, are you going to file a violation letter because you can't have a brothel in the town of Dudley? I mean, is that what's going to happen? So that whoever I accuse of doing that, they're going to have to put their name in the paper saying that I'm violating the brothel zoning laws in Dudley and come to the meeting. I mean, we want to go to the extremes? This is just ridiculous.
Good evening, Board. My name is Anne Marie Safai, and I reside at 73 Ramshorn Road. My property directly abuts the track. I have lived there for 30 years. I plan and hope to live there for a very long time. Up until 3 years ago, life was peaceful. We had a lovely neighborhood with good neighbors that were respectful to one another. But beginning in May 2014, dirt bikes began riding in the property next door, causing a great disturbance. I have gone through 3 years of this. I can no longer plan any outdoor activities, such as family events or cookouts. I can no longer open my windows when they are riding. The noise can even be heard through closed windows. There have been many days when the riding has gone on for so many hours that I have to leave my house. I have witnessed up to 6 bikes on the track. In conclusion, the noise generated from the track is extremely disturbing, offensive, and stressful, to the point that at times our home is not livable. Also, the air, the dust, the noise pollution is detrimental to our health. It is a major intrusion in the the quality of our lives. We, as residents of the town of Dudley, have the right and deserve to live in peace and quiet in our homes. I ask the zoning board to please take this into consideration when you make your decision. Thank you.
Are there any other abutters?
I'd like to make a few comments here. There is no track. It's a field. You have the photographs in front of you. You don't have a track. The noise issue was already addressed by the Board of Health. They took many, many decibel meter readings.
Can you?
And the report shows that I'm not violating any bylaws.
Can I?
Hi, I'm Bob Hanasak. I live at 74 Ramshorn Road, across the street from the Safees. First of all, you guys have been great neighbors. You got great kids, grandkids. I used to ride bikes when I was a kid. I was annoying. Teenage boys are noodle brains. They can't help it. I had one. The noise is annoying. It's difficult to deal with. They've been at it every day this week, and I wasn't home today, I don't know. But okay, sooner or later they're gonna grow up, they're gonna go to school, they're gonna get jobs. Other kids have been in the neighborhood, riding ATVs, and we've dealt with it. We've waited for them to grow up. I would have really appreciated a quieter bike. Would have loved if you'd have spent the money that you're spending on coming here on new mufflers.
I have U.S. forestry compliant exhaust systems on the bike.
I'm
I
not
can
talking
ride
about
in every
fire
state
suppression
park.
here. I'm talking about loud, loud.
I got the quietest rest.
No, it's not fun unless it's loud. They've got to have it loud. And it's annoying because they'll
Well,
go for
their-
3 hours at a time.
Their grandfather
I'm there,
has
I listen to it,
them
you're
to
there,
have
you listen to it.
a
How
restaurant
can
on
you
their
not listen to this?
One at a time, please.
I hear it every day.
And apparently you turn your aids off or something because you can't register that it's annoying anybody else. Look, if I had a rock band and I practiced my band every day in my backyard and pointed my speakers at your place, we'd be here.
No, we wouldn't.
Maybe at the Board of Health, I don't know.
You stay within the bylaws of the town, stay within the bylaws of the town, nobody has a complaint. Okay, the bikes are annoying. I understand that. They're dirt bikes. I got good kids. So far, I don't think they do drugs. They haven't been in jail. This is an outlet for them. I've spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars buying this land, which anybody could have bought on the street. I bought it from my kids. I refuse to believe that you folks are going to tell me I can't use my land for my children. Now, I'm a respectful neighbor. If there's a time where people are having a family event or have something going on, I'm a phone call away. Geez, guys, we have a big reunion or we're having a picnic. Can you not ride today? Not a problem. You know what I get? I get the most vulgar, belligerent, rotten voicemails on my mother's phone, swearing and out of control that people should be arrested for assault. They're so vulgar.
Screaming at the top of her lungs.
How am I supposed to respond to that? I don't know who it is. I don't know what time of day it is. No one ever talks to me. Just like this whole board. Nobody asked me if I had a racetrack. You want to have an event at your house? You don't want the noise? Not a problem. It's not a problem. I would comply to anybody's request if they called me, if they wanted to enjoy their outside. My goal is to have my children enjoy the land that I've purchased because I've purchased it for them.
And I'd just like to add, my name's Debbie Simpson, I'm Ryan's wife, and I'd like to address the thing about the children growing up. My children work full-time, they do co-op, they have perfect attendance records since kindergarten. So I don't know what you mean by growing up. It's like we said, it's an outlet. And nobody has ever, we have done so much for this town in regard on so many different levels. And matter of fact, Mrs. Safai's nephew has come over and ridden on our land, and that was not a problem. I guess she was okay that day and it didn't bother her that day.
I am so confused. My boys, if they have work all day at 16 and a half and 17 and a half, and they want to come home and have their friends over and be safe and supervised on land that we pay taxes for after they've worked an 8-hour day, who does that at 17 and 16 and a half? They've had the same job for 2 years, and one of them a year because he hasn't been able to work that long. They want to come on and outlet for 2 hours? I still don't understand. And again, I am, and our other Healy's friends and also relatives, if I'm aware, of front of us, they were having a cookout. They can call. They know they can call, and they know we would never, ever, ever tell the boys that they could ride. And my boys would say, okay, fine. So it's just this is all just very confusing to me. And the verbiage on this complaint is that a zoning board official has determined we are running a racetrack. Explain that to me. That is the verbiage on the letter. Not it has been accused or we've had a complaint. It has been determined. So if therefore you go to the Mass state law and you look up racetrack, you tell us we shouldn't be a little upset.
This all started when I started, Sue Simpson, Ryan's mother. This started when Mrs. Safahi started sending unsigned letters to me. If you live by me for 30 years and you can't call me, you send me a stupid letter, not signed. And then after the 4th letter, and this was after the police have been to the house, been to Ryan's house, talked to us, said they'd rather have the boys doing this than vandalizing somebody's home. Then I get a screaming 2-minute message at me on the phone of a woman totally out of control, which means there's a different problem here besides motorcycles. So if you live by me for 30 years and you can't talk to me, other than maybe her husband cursing at my grandson as he went around the field, I don't even want to speak to someone like that. And this started because she didn't get her way and her mother stepped in to take care of her. That's why we're here. Her mother complained that there's a racetrack going on because just getting rid of the bikes, that didn't work. So now they're accusing my son of having a racetrack, and that's Mrs. Healy that started that.
I have a question for this gentleman. You mentioned that Mr. Purcell did some readout, nose readout?
Decibel reading. He had a
Decibel, yeah, decibel meter. Do you have like you know? Oh, I didn't see that. I was just wondering if you have the readouts, actually, you know, what time of the day? What was
He had
the
it during the
decimal?
day when the bikes were riding by.
Oh.
He wanted to take his readings when the boys were riding, and I had...
Those certified?
Oh, okay.
I
didn't
had
know
two
that we
boys
have that.
ride by
He's certified?
specifically for Mr. Purcell to take his readings.
Certified, the readings?
And then
Supposed
after
to be
he
certified.
reviewed his notes, him and I discussed it, and he recommended that I stay away from one corner of the property that he found to have the highest reading. So I gave my boys instructions that they gotta stay 100 feet away from that part of the area to be neighborly. It was high there. Now, it was high. Now, softies can go on any part of their land, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they don't walk through 200-300 feet of mud and a creek and have a picnic right next to where my boys ride. I understand it's their land, they can do that, but that's where Mr. Purcell was standing, right on the edge of the creek by the swamp, taking his readings. And I further obliged his recommendations, and it reflects in the letter that I agreed to not ride in that area, to be well below the decibel markers.
Okay, thank you.
I think what we gotta keep in mind, and the board has to keep in mind, I think the question right now is because we don't have a definition of a racetrack.
I have one.
We don't have a definition of a racetrack in our bylaws. your decision tonight is to decide really whether it's a racetrack or not. I'd like direction as far as commercial, residential, because that's really not in there either, and I kind of, whatever you guys decide tonight, it's going to give me reference in the future. That's why I kind of wanted this tonight.
That there's the closest definition I could find in the Massachusetts law of what a racetrack is. I could not find anything in the Dudley bylaws that reference a track.
You just said that. How many bikes were running the day that Mr. Purcell was out there?
There was 2 bikes running.
2?
Generally, there's 2, 3. There is an occasion where I've had
Times
up to 6.
About twice there were 6 bikes. And that was around the time of the screaming phone calls.
You guys opposed to another decibel reading with 6 bikes running?
Pardon?
Would you be opposed to a decibel reading with 6 bikes running?
No. Might take me a while to round everybody up, but I wouldn't.
And I'm just going by what was supplied to us.
And the other thing, the boys ride 10, 15 minutes, and then they stop. Sometimes they go up to the house, then they come back. At the time when there was 6, that day they did ride most of the day. That has never happened since that one time. And when I'm home, I mark down when they ride, and I count how many minutes they go around.
May I speak, please? I did read over the Dudley zoning bylaws also, and I read in section 2.03.03, number 8, number 1 of the Town of Dudley zoning bylaw. It specifically provides uses not permitted, and one is racetracks, including the following: automobile, motorcycle, bicycles, horses, and dogs.
Their contention right now,
Okay.
it's not a racetrack.
Okay.
Get that
Second
out of your
point.
mind. It's not a racetrack.
Ma'am, let her speak.
Okay. Section 2.
She's been to me.
Section 2.0301, use regulation catalog of the Town of Dudley zoning bylaws. Do you have the zoning bylaws there? It sets forth any use not listed in the catalog as allowed by right or by special permit is expressly prohibited. It is my understanding that any use not included in the catalog is prohibited. Tracks, motocross tracks are not listed. Since they are not listed in the bylaws, does this mean that simply they are not allowed? That's section 2.0301.
Mr. Chairman, what she's trying to say is our bylaws are permissive bylaws. If it's not listed, you can't do it. But that being said, it all depends on what you consider a racetrack, and I think that's the issue tonight, because you may say it's a racetrack, or you may say it's not a racetrack. And if it's not a racetrack, what she's saying wouldn't really fall into place.
What about the use of motorcycles and whatnot? How about that?
This is a private property. There's
I realize
no
that, but I'm
business
just-
there.
I'm
There's
just
no
asking.
zoning requirements for the business. It's private property.
She made
None of
reference-
the
Let me-
zoning things that
you
she
made-
quoted
you made
have
reference-
anything to do with private property.
Wait a minute, you made reference to uses in motorcycles, right?
The use regulation catalog, it just says any use not listed in the catalog as allowed by right or by special permit is expressly prohibited.
Can I say this, Mr. Chairman, to try to clear it up? An example is like, it's like an accessory use, but, I mean, you wouldn't question having a car or having a boat. They're not listed either. I think the crust of this is it a racetrack? If it's not a racetrack, what she's saying doesn't count. If you're saying it's a racetrack, then it counts. Because like I say, the easiest thing, Mr. Glenn, would be like a car, you know what I mean, or a boat.
How about 5 cars, though?
No, that's the thing, and he asked the question, how many more? When I
that's got nothing to
made
do
my
with being a
decision,
track.
and I thought, what's a racetrack? I thought,
Apart from a racetrack, it's just, 1 car, okay, 2 cars, maybe, 3, 4, 5. I mean, doesn't that go to the, isn't that something is that within our purview?
yeah, I guess.
Me, I can't have 5
Let's say,
cars?
I'm not talking to you, sir, I'm talking to him.
It would be
Well, I
an
need to
opinion of
answer.
yours, but I could live with the opinion, and you'd have reasoning for it. Yeah, it would be under your purview.
Okay.
May I also say something else? It is a track. It's a dirt bike track. It's a motocross track. It's a gravel track, and they have jumps. They
Or is it
That's-
and/or? Correct. Yeah, it's not very clear.
No. Would you mind if we did a site visit?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I would like to do a site visit.
You need to make a motion for that?
Yep.
So we continue this.
All right.
Continue the public hearing, so
Yep.
next October. Maybe we can set up a time to go over.
Do we have to set up a time now, or can it be done?
We'd like to continue this to our next meeting.
Yes,
And-
I'd like to
and-
add something before you close. We've known the symptoms for a long time. Christmas time, we exchange little gifts. I make some cookies, she brings some stuff to my house, okay? This has been going on, yes, for 3 years, and yes, it is a racetrack. They don't
Could
want...
you please state your name?
Yes, my name is Adelina Healy, and I live at 68 Ramson Road. And yes, I am Anne Marie's mother, and I've watched this go on for 3 years. Last year, we had a death in the family, okay? I called Mrs. Simpson to tell her, and I was surprised by the response that she gave me, okay?
Because I just heard.
Yeah, so, yeah. So anyway, again, this has been going on for 3 years. There are some shots that we had taken, I don't know where they are, that you can actually see the road where they're traveling on. I don't know where those pictures are. I don't know if those are the ones. I think the building inspector should have them. And that really, Mr. Chairman?
We're gonna arrange to do a site visit.
Yeah, the pictures that we have that show, actually, you could see where it comes right by their home and everything, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean that you were
Thank you.
trespassing on my
Thank you.
property, taking pictures?
Up above. Anyone can go to the internet and Google.
Oh, so you do know how to Google. Good.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Pam.
Just one little question. The cows, we have 20 cows approximately. They make paths also all the way around there. And possibly the boys ride where the cows walk, which would make it look more like a track.
We're-
The path, the cow path is not a track.
So, Mr. Simpson, we'd like to continue this to our next
Yeah, but
meeting.
I have a few more questions I gotta get answered. Now, I fully expect that Mrs. Adele Haley is the one who's complaining, because I got a letter from the town and she was copied on it. Now, this woman lied. And when you do your site visit, you'll be able to support me in this. I want my money back that I had to spend. This is frickin' ridiculous. $1,000 just to come here today, plus my time. And unless you find a track, this was a lie that got this whole meeting together. And I fully plan to sue the Healey's.
That's a selectman's matter, or it's a civil matter, not with
So,
us.
right, but just so you know, this is a lie. You got all the photographs of my land, and I'm welcoming a visit.
Okay, how do I get a hold of you, contact you?
You got a pen?
Gloria, you have a number?
774?
We have it.
Okay.
I don't think you want to say it on.
I don't care. Anybody can call me.
Just a minute. Let me just make sure.
If you don't have it, John. Yeah, you got it in the office someplace.
Must be on the application.
And I'd like to go on record once again. If I got neighbors or abutters that have something going on and my boys are causing a ruckus, I'd be happy to have them stop. I would expect nothing but the same from them if I called. Nobody's called me, ever. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Purcell's called me a number of times. Spoke with him on several occasions. That's it.
Okay, I'll be giving you a phone call, so a couple of us can go do a walk.
No, just give me about a day's notice anytime. I can meet you there.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Ryan?
Do you want to go back on this? Did you want to go for we got 60, 90 days, right? Just one of this. Close the public hearing, just adjourn.
Right.
Okay. And we can decide these over time. This one we can decide over time.
Right.
We closed it on that one. These two are still open.
Correct.
Okay.
You know what I wanted to tell you? I have no paperwork, no green cards, no tear sheets of newspaper for the first two hearings we had tonight. That's why I ran after Linda.
They were continued.
Right. But usually before we even have the hearing, I go through all that to make sure all the abutters were notified. And she told me that I wasn't here and nobody did.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Right. So we need, before we make any kind of a decision, we need to make sure that we have the
That burden's on them to present, give it to
to
us.
present. Nobody presented anything to
But
me
they have to
tonight
give it to us.
except Ryan. So,
Oh, didn't you get it from, the second one? She hasn't given you anything yet?
no, she took it with her, she's gonna bring it back to
All
the
right, so
next.
she'll bring it then. And the first people,
If we're gonna make a decision, I need to go through that paperwork.
well, then we better contact them and tell them to bring that stuff. Send it to us. The burden's on them to give it to us. We're not gonna hold back. All right, they were on notice.
That was the conference.
Right.
I don't have any information.
Well, you know, call them and tell them to bring it to you. Bring it to the office. They're right here. The Thompson's still here?
Yes.
Would you speak to Gloria? Gloria, you could talk to them about that.
Before you leave, okay?
Are you talking about all the documentation for the abutters? That was given to you on our first meeting that has since been held over twice. That was provided in June at our first meeting. I gave you all of the certified letter, the list of the abutters, the certified letters, the greens and the whites, all in order to you at our first meeting when there weren't enough members here to hold the meeting.
So you got them back in June,
Yes, ma'am.
because we continue this from
They-
July.
They got their letters, they can tell you they all got their letters.
June, they gave them to you. So you got them back.
I'm sorry, our first meeting was July 7th. I'm sorry, July was held over, August was held over, and now we're here in September.
September.
But I gave them to you at July's meeting.
In August, you weren't. You were. You were?
No, I gave them
She gave
personally
them
to
to
you
you?
on July
Okay.
7th. You were here.
They're not in the folder.
We better look.
Folder I leave on the desk.
Okay, she gave them to you.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Do we adjourn when we're reconvening some meetings?
Second.
Doesn't matter.
Before you adjourn, when will the decision, when will you?
We have 60 days to make a decision.
On the Thompson matter, yeah. You have 60 days.
To make it, and then who's notified?
Oh, well, we have an order. We'll draft it, and you could contact the office, and she'd let you know.
The applicant is notified of our decision.
They'll be notified.
And it's also.
They'll hear within 60 days, we'll get a letter within 60 days or
Yes,
something?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.